This is Support is Sexy, episode 69, with Fayemi Shakur, Executive Director of City Without Walls. Welcome to the Support is Sexy podcast. I'm your host, Elaine Fluker, entrepreneur, author, producer, and founder of Chic Rebellion Media. 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, I talk to women entrepreneurs who share their journeys and the true stories of their wins and their lessons, and give you insight and inspiration to take your business and your life to the next level. Here we go. Hi, everyone. This is Elaine. Welcome to a new episode of Support is Sexy. I'm thrilled to have you here because it just would not be the same without you. So today we are welcoming Miss Fayemi Shakur, and Fayemi is the newly appointed Executive Director of Newark City Without Walls, which is an art space in Newark that creates an alternative space for artists from the community and otherwise to be featured and for their art to really be celebrated. I love this episode because we talk about so much within it, but one of the things that was really powerful from the many great things that Fayemi shares is this idea that the thing that you want to do in life is likely connected to something you loved in your childhood. That was one of the quotes that she mentioned. I think one of her teachers said to her. And I thought it was so fitting because on the Support is Sexy podcast, on all of the episodes, one of the things that I love to do is to get guests to share parts of their story from childhood with us. And it usually comes back around in some way in the work that we do today. So Fayemi is the perfect example of that. She talks about how hip hop has shaped her life, art has shaped her life, activism has shaped her life, so many things within this episode, so I know you're really going to love it. What she also talks about is why doing the work and staying focused is key, taking stock of how your work is having an impact or not on your community, the empowering effect of art in our communities, the power of beginning your day with affirmations. I'm a big believer in that, affirmations and meditation, the importance of self-care. And she also talks about how self-care is its own form of activism. Fayemi talks about building yourself up along the journey so that you're prepared when the next opportunity comes along, what it takes to be an artist and to make it in a gallery, why artists deserve to be respected as professionals. Also, when even as a boss, the world needs to witness your vulnerability, which I thought was very powerful. Why Solange is an example of the perfect kind of artist for this moment in our time. She goes into that. We love Solange's new album, so you'll love hearing about that. She also talks about the importance of women supporting women. You know, I'm all for it. And also the 3 most important feelings you must have when speaking things into existence. So I know you're going to enjoy this episode. Without further ado, Fayemi Shakur. So Fayemi, thank you so much for joining us for an episode of Support is Sexy. I'm excited to have you here.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm equally excited.
Great. Now I have to ask you the first question I ask everyone. When did you first fall in love with entrepreneurship?
Oh, wow. Probably when I was let go from a job in, I guess it was 2009. And I was not sad about it at all. My boss at the time was always super supportive, and he seemed kind of disappointed that he had to let me go too. It was during the housing market crisis, and I was working for a nonprofit community development corporation. And I was working in marketing and communications. And, you know, money just became tight. And sometimes marketing is the first thing that gets cut. And I was on the list of cuts. And I just saw it as an opportunity for me, like such an open door and a window, like, well, wow, you can kind of do whatever you want now. So what are you going to do?
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I created an LLC and developed my own company to do consulting work.
Great. And what was the name of that company, and what was the first step you took to get it started?
It was called Art Life Media. And of course, I applied through the state. That was the first major thing for me, was just registering myself as a business and thinking about all the different things I could bring under the umbrella of Art Life Media. And I pretty much took basically everything that I loved and put everything under that umbrella. Um, and so, my art is my life. And so I combined my freelance writing under that umbrella, my work as a yoga teacher and instructor under that umbrella, and any workshops or creative consulting I was doing in the community.
Before you were laid off, and then sort of, which happens to a lot of people, and it's sort of the thing that makes us say, you know what, it's time for me to do this on my own or do something of my own. So before that, had you considered entrepreneurship as an option for yourself?
No, I didn't. I didn't at all. I've always kind of enjoyed working in the background and being a part of a team and supporting others. So it was a big deal for me to say, you can be independent and you can do this and you can work for yourself.
What gave you the courage to do that? Was it sort of part out of necessity and then part out of, I got to step up at this point?
It was definitely out of necessity. I have never received a job, gotten a job through something I've applied for online, like ever. Not that I haven't tried,
Mm-hmm.
but my opportunities just have never come to me that way through kind of randomly seeing a job like, hey, I could do that. That looks like a good opportunity. Let me apply. That has never worked for me. My opportunities have always come from people who know me and have referred me or recommended me for a job.
Which is such an interesting thing to, I agree that that happens to me, has happened to me time and time again throughout my career too. And but especially in this time where almost every job you have to apply online, it's very different now. Those connections are, I think, are even more important. They were important for us back when you didn't have to apply online, but I feel like even more so now. There's thousands of people applying for a position. You have to have those connections and have the reputation.
Yeah.
Excellent. Now, where did you grow up? Did you grow up in New Jersey?
Yes, I am completely 100% Jersey girl.
Jersey girl.
I am. My family is originally from Newark. My mother, my grandmother, they all grew up on a house on South 11th Street, right around the corner from Amiri and Amina Baraka. I've always come back to Newark and the East Orange area as a child because my family was from here. I was born in Plainfield, New Jersey, but I primarily grew up in a suburban black town in South Jersey, Willingboro, where I went to high school. Willingboro is such a funny town. We get around. I know so many people from Willingboro, and it's always awesome to see folks from my hometown doing great things. But Newark, I consider more of my hometown because I feel like just the energy and spiritually, this is where I feel really rooted and grounded.
Now, what was Fayemi like as a young child?
I was quiet.
Mm-hmm.
I was pretty obedient. I loved my mother and father. I would pretty much do anything they asked. I was mostly just quiet until, of course, I became a teenager.
And then what happened when you became a teenager? Not so
Uh,
quiet.
Not so, I was still quiet. I'm still quiet now. But as I discovered, the things that really was starting to shape my identity, I just felt much more rebellious, and I pretty much did whatever I wanted to do. I'm the same way now.
You're the same way now. What kind of things do you think shaped your rebellion at that time? And of course, a lot of us go through that at that stage as a teenager and start discovering who we are, or at least who we think we are at that time.
hmm it was a few things. I was shaped by religion, by my family's religion, my father's religious practice. He was a Jehovah's Witness, and I rebelled against that like hard.
Mm.
I had a lot of questions that he could not answer, um, and so I kind of set out to find my own answers. But also, I grew up during the hip hop golden era, and hip hop totally shaped my experience as a teenager and as an adult. Um, just being inspired by people who have come out of our community and done these tremendous things and found ways to excel in creative expression. Um, there are so many things that inspired me about hip hop culture as a young person and still today.
What would you say some of your greatest influences from that time were, whether it's hip hop or otherwise?
Oh, are you asking me who my favorite MCs
I
are,
think I'm
Elaine?
asking you for your top five, is what I think I'm asking you. That is what
Oh
I
my God.
think.
Oh, top five.
Top
Oh,
five.
Nas.
Nas
Nas,
is number
definitely. Of
one or
course,
five?
I can't put them in order of number one. That's really hard for
You
me, but I
have
could just say,
to.
I cannot. That's really hard. Don't ask me to do
All
that.
right, your top five in no particular order.
In no particular order. Nas, Tupac, Biggie. I have to put Queen Latifah in there. Queen Latifah in particular was so influential to me as a young person because when she came out with Ladies First, when she came out with, oh my goodness, Give Me Body.
Oh, Give Me Body. That's because you're a Jersey girl. It's kind of a house song. I thought you were going to say UNITY, but Give Me Body was a good one.
Of course, that was her first album, and she was one of the first. She came out, she came out. She was regal. She had like this African sensibility and strong connection to her blackness that I just loved, and I loved that she was repping women. I was also at that time when I was coming up a huge fan of Salt and Pepper, girl groups.
So are they in your top five? Because that'd be five.
That's five. I don't even know if I could do five, but I'm comfortable with them being in my five.
Excellent. Now, were you always drawn to the arts in general, music certainly with hip hop, but art overall, was that something you were always drawn to?
All forms, especially music, all forms, and especially writing. I attempted writing hip hop, writing my own little rap lyrics.
Uh oh.
I'm not going to tell you what my MC
I was
name
just
is.
gonna say your
Not,
MC name
not,
or
not,
freestyle. Completely open
not.
to it. If you wanted to do it, you know you want to.
I'll just say it was a terrible, corny, awful name. But poetry, and in particular, when I was in maybe the third grade, I had this teacher who noticed that I loved Shel Silverstein. And when I was in the library, I would check out all of his books. His books were my favorite. And Nancy Drew books, Choose Your Own Adventure books. I loved reading as a child. I loved writing as a child. And for a while, as an adult, particularly when I went to college, I forgot about my love of writing. And as I was, trying to figure out in college, well, which direction am I going to go in? I remember hearing someone say something about the thing that you're meant to do in life is most likely something connected to something you loved as a child, something you were passionate about as a child. And a light bulb kind of went off in me that I love writing. And I saw Honey Magazine. I remember your magazine, Suede. I remember reading all of those hip hop publications and Dream Hampton and Kieran Amal and, all of these phenomenal people, Michael Gonzalez, Amy Linden, Miles Marshall Lewis, all of those hip hop generation journalists, and just being so enthralled by their ability to tell our story. So writing, when I first started writing for The Source in 1999, that was huge for me because I never imagined I would even be able to do that. So writing was always it for me.
Writing was
Music, writing, and art was always it for me.
beautiful. Now, when you were in school, what school did you go to again? Did you go to school in Jersey?
I went to Morgan State for about a year and a half or two. And then I transferred to Jersey City State, which is now New Jersey City University.
Mm-hmm.
I studied African American studies and journalism. But something else interesting happened to me when I transferred to New Jersey City University. I got bored.
Mm-hmm. Bored
And
with your studies or at the school?
both.
Both.
And economically, it just became really, really difficult. And I found myself more interested by what was happening in the streets and in my community and politically. And my professors were fussing at me because I was at every rally, every protest, every community meeting. And they were like, look, you got to come to
You
class.
got to do this homework. Talk about you at some march. Now, what kind of things were going on in the community at that time that you were really passionate about being a part of?
Um, I became really passionate about working on behalf of political prisoners. I read Assata Shakur's autobiography,
Mm-hmm.
and I read Mumia Abu-Jamal's Live on Death Row. And they really, really changed the way I thought about um, community and work and what my purpose should be.
What did you start to feel like at that time your purpose should be? Was it still, and did it still align with the arts in some way?
Um, yes, but as a true Aquarius, I've always had so many different interests. It's always been kind of hard for me to pick just one thing. I've never been able to pick just one thing. I've always jumped around. I've jumped around so much. At some point in my career, people would just ask me, like, "What do you do?"
Mm.
Like, what? Like, people didn't even know what I did because I could always be seen doing so many different things. But I started doing work on behalf of political prisoners, and I started writing them and wanting to know more about them and being really passionate about mass incarceration and police brutality, and those issues were critical. They're still critical.
Exactly. They still are. Certainly. Yes, they certainly still are. Did you hear back from any of the people that you wrote to at that time? And if so, how did that shape you even more in deciding what you wanted to do?
I was totally surprised that I could write these people and they would write me back immediately. Here are these people who are incarcerated and seemingly so far away from us, wanting to hear from us, waiting to hear from us. These are the people who inspire work that's still happening today. And so when I reached out to Sundiata Kohli, he immediately wrote me back. I reached out also to Mutulu Shakur. He immediately wrote me back.
Mm.
I remember telling Mutulu that I wanted to change my name to an African name, and I wanted to change my last name to Shakur. And some of the reactions I got were like, why the hell you want to do that?
From him or in general?
In general. But from him in particular, he told me, I remember so clearly, to just make sure you know the history.
Mm.
And he gave me a list of books and individuals that I needed to study because it's not a thing for play or for show. And the work of liberation is real hard work. It is a marathon and not a sprint. And they always grounded me to the realities of community work.
Wow, that's powerful. Really powerful. I'm like getting goosebumps. At what point did you say, after you started studying and realizing this was the name that you wanted to change your name to, at what point did it occur to you while you were studying or after that this is the right thing for me to do at this time? And was this still in your college years or was this after?
Yes, this was still in college. It just kept calling me. Fayemi was the name that kept speaking to me. And even now today, it's so funny when my Uber drivers pick me up. I have a lot of African drivers who pick me up, and that is the first thing they ask me. They're like, Fayemi. Are you from Nigeria? What, are you Yoruba? How did you get this name? What are you doing with this name? So I have to tell this story to my Uber drivers every day.
Uh-huh.
that that Fayemi is the name that spoke to me, that I wanted a connection to the land where my ancestors came from. And Fayemi means divination befits me. Um,
Mm.
it's, the idea of knowing your purpose and knowing your destiny that attracted me. And Shakur means the thankful. And those two names together, it was more a spirit thing that moved me to embrace that very big change in my life.
And how much power is there in choosing your own name? I would think that's very powerful because, most of us are given names as children. And even though some cultures have a much bigger weight on naming with naming ceremonies and those kinds of things, take it very seriously, not just, oh, I saw this in a movie, although nothing's wrong with that if you named your
Mhm.
child after someone in a movie, but just this idea of choosing your own name. How powerful is that for you? Or was that for you?
Yeah, I just have always loved the idea of being self-governed. You can name yourself Blue Moon Sky if you want to. If you said that's your name, that's your name.
Mm-hmm.
Even Jay-Z and Beyonce's choice to name their daughter Blue. I love it. I love it. I love the freedom of naming and identifying yourself for yourself.
Right. Like Cassius Clay, Muhammad Ali.
Amen. Yes.
That's right. Now, with your art, well, first of all, back to that time of your life, did you decide to stay in school or did you decide to leave at that time just because you had sort of really gone on this different path?
It wasn't so much that I decided to leave, it became too difficult for me to stay.
Stay. Mm-hmm.
It couldn't keep my attention. I couldn't afford it. I was struggling. I became pregnant with my first son. And at the time, I was interning at Dow Jones Newswires, which was major. A Black woman in college, one of my advisors had gotten me that internship. And it was the most money I had ever made as a young person ever.
Mm-hmm.
And here I was connected. It was connected also to the Wall Street Journal. So I'm, for the first time, studying the stock exchange and the effect that politics and economics has on the market. And I was there. I was a young Black woman. There were a handful of us working there. And I became pregnant. And I was like, oh man, where am I going? I couldn't stay there. It was a difficult time.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, that's when I was probably at my most politically active. I was so supercharged by the organizing work that I was doing at the time. I didn't care. I just followed what I loved, and that is what I have always done. And I always, by the grace of God, seem to land out okay by just following what I love. And I just decided that a college degree was not going to make or break me, and that I was going to make it with or without a piece of paper from any institution. I saw an article today, I want to say it was in the Washington Post, about discrimination and income disparities that exist today that are more prevalent for college graduates than non-college graduates,
Mm-hmm.
and why it's still so hard for Blacks to succeed in industries. Um, that really shook me a little bit today because it's true. And people will tell you, that all you have to do is work hard and there are so many opportunities out there. But the reality is, especially for Black women, that we're still paid significantly less,
Mm-hmm.
even if you do have a college degree. Now it seems even more so if you have a college degree. And so I think it's really important that we don't get too caught up in, what we have attached to our name and our resumes, and that we find our networks and our support groups that um, are for us, and people who want to see you succeed and move in those circles.
And that's so true. And from the perspective of connection of a piece of paper or the weight we put on a piece of paper, but also on a certain kind of job or you're in a certain industry or that kind of thing we get. I think especially today with so much of what we're doing sort of on social media or out in the world to say, this is what I'm up to. It's kind of easy to get connected to this sort of false idea of yourself or even a false idea of other people. Oh, they're doing this and they must have all of this list of things that we think we attach to a person's success or what seems like success. It's just a lot more to weigh now as opposed to when we were younger and coming up, even though there were significant things to weigh then. But now so much of it is in our face. It's easy to get attached to these things, like you said, that may not be the thing that move you forward in the way you think.
Absolutely.
So tell us now how your love of art, your social justice work, all of these things came together to form the career path that you did end up following in the art world.
Yeah, so I continue to write. I'm always going to write. I get a little cranky when I don't write.
And you write right now for the New York Times Lens blog, right?
Yes, I do, which was another amazing surprise, but I bugged the hell out of those editors.
Oh, tell us about that, because that's something I did back bugging the people at Essence so I could get my foot in the door. That's how you got to do it.
It doesn't always work.
Right.
And actually, this was one of the rare times that it did work. I think it worked, though, because of previous work, of course, that I've done. So my love of art eventually took me to, yes, co-founding a music festival, but also working for High Side Magazine, which is a photojournalism magazine based here in Newark.
And what was the festival called, so everybody knows?
The Lincoln Park Music Festival.
Okay.
And I think I started branching out more towards the visual arts because I started to need a new language to have conversation. I started getting tired of op-eds and trying to think of ways to write critical think pieces for publications, which I just wasn't good at. It just wasn't my lane. And it became such a popular thing that I was like, man, that's not my lane.
Mm-hmm. And how important is that to know that? Because I feel like that's not my lane either. These people who are great at giving their opinions on some of everything. I'm like, it's just not my space. I used to like have these moments, I admit, as a writer, especially, I'm sure you know this, you think, well, I should be able to write anything and I should be able to do that and have an opinion on that. But it might not be your lane.
Yeah, and of course we have opinions of it and brilliant thoughts about it to contribute to all of these subjects. But some people just do it better than others.
Exactly. Some people express it through written word better than others. Call me and I'll tell you my opinion.
Right. Put me on a panel and I'll talk to you about my opinion. But if you ask me to write about it, yes, there are some journalists out there who are doing it right now, and I love that. But yes, I do think it's important to know your lane. So I started to shift through my work with photography and art and hindsight to start looking at how images and words combine and work beautifully together to tell a story. I started looking at different ways to invoke storytelling, different ways to engage my community in storytelling, and thinking about my immediate environment where I am right now. It's so easy, I think, to see things on social media and in the world and think you have to be bigger than what you are, when sometimes, or at least for me, my work needed to be very much rooted in where I am here and now.
How did you come to that realization? Is it just because of who you are and how you sort of came up in that community?
Yes, I always have. Yes, I think that's true. I always have the words of so many activists and elders in my head all the time. Think globally, act locally.
Mm.
What good is it to be popular on social media if the work you're doing doesn't impact your community? If you walk outside your door and people in your own community don't know you, if you're not serving the people in your community, if the people in your community don't even understand the service that you're trying to bring them. And so I've constantly tried to make sure that I'm addressing those things in my work because it's important to me. And in art, and now working in art galleries in particular, and working in the art world, and trying to present exhibitions and public programs that the community wants to see, that's addressing issues that are concerned by our community, but also teaching them at the same time more about art and being an advocate for art. These are new challenges that I have to creatively find solutions to, that also really excite me, and that also keep me rooted and grounded. It's not about trying to be an art star or an art boss. It's about making sure your work connects with people.
Now I might put that on my wall. Think globally, act locally. That's really, I had never heard that before, but it's powerful, and it speaks to so much of what more of us not should be about, but more of us could choose to be about.
And I'll give you an example. Sometimes I see articles written about, say, for instance, sexual assault or domestic violence, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we tend to focus a lot on celebrities and how famous people and celebrities respond or don't respond to those types of issues, right? And they are used as teachable moments. But I feel like something gets lost in that when we forget that there are millions of girls that are affected and women that are affected by these issues every day. Or I shouldn't say we forget, because that's the reason why these articles are written in the first place, because so many people are affected by this. But when you apply that rationale of think globally, act locally, then you can kind of look in your community like, okay, well, where are the domestic violence shelters in my community? Where are those organizations or groups of women in my own community who I can volunteer for, who I can teach a class or a workshop for? And that may not be something that falls within your 9 to 5. That may be something that you have to stretch yourself to say, you know what, 2 or 3 hours a week, I want to volunteer for XYZ organization. Mm-hmm. And doing that type of work gives me a deeper level of meaning overall and purpose overall. So part of my practice has included teaching yoga, free community yoga classes. And when I just go where people call me, they say, I need a yoga class here. I just try and find the time in my schedule to go.
Right. And yoga is something that I see that we're starting to see more, at least articles about yoga and meditation being taught in schools, especially in inner cities or schools with predominantly young students of color, and just the effect that it's having, the positive effect. Some people are using it. One school, I can't remember the name of it, is using it instead of detention. They've used yoga and meditation. So I know for you, as you mentioned, as part of your practice, you use yoga and meditation for communities especially affected by trauma. Now, how does using meditation, yoga, those kinds of things help us all in general in discovering sort of an inner peace in the midst of stress or trauma?
Ooh, that is an ocean of a question.
How can we find peace? Solve it for us.
You know what? I'm really grateful that I found this as a part of my practice and my spiritual foundation. Self-healing or self-care, we are hearing those words a lot now for a reason, because we need it. Mm-hmm. We have to take care of ourselves. The thing I tell my students and within my own practice is to make sure we don't get so caught up in self-love and self-healing that we forget what we're really trying to do is strengthen ourselves so we can go out and serve others and be of use, for others, for our community, be stronger for our family so that we can fortify ourselves to do the work that we have to do. So it gives you a kind of mental armor. It gives you, I think that we all need training. We think about training as like professional development or coaching. And I think that we need those things. Those are part of the tools, we need in our toolkit. But we also need, and for everybody it's different, whatever's in your toolkit. For some people it's going to church. I added on another part of training in addition to my yoga recently, and that's working out with a personal trainer, which is opening up or helping me release mental blocks that I didn't even know were there. And so for yoga, I do think that it's not just about peace, but I almost see it as a form of martial art. Like, Bruce Lee says, be water.
Right.
Like how can you be water and flexible and free in your mind and spirit with so much going on around you? How do you create the space for yourself to do your own inner work so that you don't dump all your issues, on your family, your coworkers, your friends, but you start to be more self-determined in healing yourself. But again, I also think of the work that the Black Panthers did in their communities when Matulu Shakur created acupuncture clinics and used acupuncture to treat drug addicts in his community. That's the type of work that the Black Panthers did during the 60s that hardly gets spoken about.
Right. We don't hear about that part.
They took care, of their communities in such a holistic way. And I see yoga as another kind of branch of that.
And now your practice and all of the things that you've done over all this time have been brought into this new position that you have, which is the thing I was most excited. And I was like, you got to come on and talk to me. I'm excited about everything you've done, but this new chapter sounds really interesting. You're now the executive director of City Without Walls in Newark, New Jersey, right?
Yay!
Congratulations! Yay! Now, City Without Walls, mentioning, as you mentioned, talking about spaces, is a nonprofit alternative art space. So what does that mean, an alternative art space?
Well, it's not a commercial gallery. So it really serves emerging artists, and it serves the immediate community that we're in. It's located in Newark's Lincoln Park section, which is an emerging eco arts district, which is interesting because I once worked for that job that I was let go from.
It all comes back full circle.
It's in such an amazing, divine way that you can never, ever anticipate. I worked for Lincoln Park Coast Cultural District, which was creating this arts district to revitalize that neighborhood, which was formerly had so many brownfields and prostitution, open drug sales, and City Without Walls is located in that community. I organized my first art show in that community in 2005. We had a hip hop exhibition called Fresh. It was curated by Jerry Gant. And I helped him do the call out to artists. It's where I first met Ernie Panicoli, who introduced myself and the editor-in-chief of High Side magazine, Akintola Hanif. Ernie introduced us to Jamel Shabazz. I'm telling you, this weird circle of divine order and connection is mind-blowing to me, how things come around. So when this opportunity came up, again, it wasn't something that I sought out or I applied for. It was two women, Elaine. It was two women who recommended me for the job. And I don't really have the words to express how significant that was for me, and how much I just love women, and how we do each other and lift each other up and position each other. It means so much. And it was two women who have their own gallery, Jasmine Wahi and Rebecca Jampol. They recommended me to one of the board trustees, another woman. And I just said, oh, okay.
I'll try. What's the name of their gallery?
Their gallery is called Gateway Project Spaces, also here in Newark.
Okay, I'll find out they have a website and link to it so people could.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Now, first of all, that's beautiful. I'm all about women too, as you mentioned. But what was it in that moment that made you sort of be like, oh, okay? Was it that you weren't considering getting a position like this and then it was sort of brought to you?
Absolutely. I knew this wasn't an opportunity. I didn't feel like I was going to have a chance to be promoted. And I felt for the first time ready for a leadership position. I've been feeling ready. But again, my motto for a long time has just been keep your head down and just do your work. Just do your work. That's all. Don't worry about when it comes. Don't worry about how it's going to come. You just keep on doing your work. And maybe people will notice, maybe they won't. I don't know. I'm never, I don't really think about that too much. I think if you think about that too much, you get a little bit caught up and distracted. And always when I least expect it, recognition always seems to come when you least expect it, not so much when you are expecting it. And that's what always seems to happen to me. So yeah, as you can see, I jump around a lot all over the place, right?
No, you know what? I feel like I've done that too. But one of the reasons that I like to ask the women that I talk to, one, because I just love stories and I'm interested in everyone's story because everyone has one. But as you mentioned, and one of the things you said, this idea that the thing you end up wanting to really do is likely connected to your childhood. And if you think about just the story that you've told us within these past few minutes of going from where you started to being very into art and into music, and then how that evolved and you started a music festival and you became very active, so your social justice work came into it and art came together, and then you moved toward having your own business, and then being in this space now that is a really community-based organization or community-based gallery, serves the community. You're bringing yoga and those kinds of things into that space, right? I'm sure music will be a part of it. Art is a part. So it actually isn't jumping around, or it is jumping around, but all with a certain goal, destination, energy, all of those things in mind along this certain path. At least that's how it feels for me.
That's how it feels for me too.
Yeah.
And I think what has sustained me a lot is definitely my yoga practice. Again, another woman, my teacher, who told me, you should be a yoga teacher. I was just going to yoga for my own anxiety and
Right,
stress.
right.
I'm like, I just love your class. I didn't want to teach. I just like coming here. And she just kept on insisting, no, you should teach. You need to be a teacher. Another woman pushing me out there, and it turned out, yeah, it was something that I needed to do. So the inner work that I've had to do to prepare myself to be a leader, to be an entrepreneur, has been really important. I can't tell you how many years for the past maybe 2 or 3 years, the affirmations and mantras that I've done, the work that I've done that nobody can see. That's the really, really important work. I email myself positive affirmations every day, not made up, not quotes taken from someone else, but my own words that always begin with I am, in the affirmative. And there are also goals, things that I want, things that I want to see, and to claim those things for myself in the present. I do think that you have to believe in yourself first before anybody else will. And sometimes you have to build yourself up. And I think I've been building myself up now for a while so I could be prepared for my next journey, which is now here, and is why I am also so excited, because I didn't know that this was going to happen, but at the same time, in my spirit, I was asking for it.
You were asking for it, and like you said, you were preparing yourself for it. Now, what made you decide to send yourself emails as a way of sort of nourishing and affirming yourself? Is it that you open them, you can open them later, or that you'll have them saved?
It's the weirdo in me. I used to keep a journal. I still have journals all over my house. So sometimes I'll just write them down in my journal.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes I get busy and I forget to do my journal work. So just emailing myself is a good way for me to just like, you know what, begin your day with your affirmations.
I love that. Because it's affirming, but it's also practical. It's like I can't get to my journal. I'm just going to email this to myself. I'm asking because I don't think I've emailed myself affirmations as much, but definitely writing them down in a journal or putting them in notes so that I remember them later, or I go back and refer to them. I'm constantly taking an image of something to inspire. So I ask that just to see your reason and thinking, and also to encourage people to do that as well. There's always a way to find some sort of inspiration, putting a note up or a Post-it or something on your desk, whatever you have to do to make sure you affirm yourself, so that when those opportunities come, even before those opportunities get there. I think what you spoke to was powerful too, about these two women who saw something in you and recommended you for this position that you may not have even been considering, or the yoga instructor who saw something in you, but it's because of the work too that you were doing on yourself, at least I believe.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just grateful, you know.
I love it. I
But
love it.
I do think that you can call things into existence for
Yeah.
yourself.
What kind of work do you hope to, what kind of impact, I should say, do you hope to make at City Without Walls with all of the things that you guys have coming up?
Oh, I don't want to give away all my
Don't give it
secrets.
away. Just one thing that you're excited about, or something that you love that City Without Walls already does for the community, and what drew you to, you know what, this is the right position for now.
Um, you know, the significant meaning that's speaking to me right now in relation to City Without Walls and the arts in general is advocating for the arts and advocating for artists to get people to understand the real value that they have in our communities, and that they too are professionals and entrepreneurs that need to be paid and supported.
Mm-hmm.
And seeing the way that art helps us to reimagine possibilities. Sometimes, you know, you got to step away from the television and all of the things that we are fed in pop culture and in mass media, and find new forms of inspiration, and develop a new language. I remember Amiri Baraka was telling this story about how back in the day, jazz artists could not really be outspoken about racism. But jazz was the way that they were communicating. And if you were in tune to the sound, you could hear their art cry. And they weren't saying it with words, they were saying it in the music. And I feel, you know, the arts, that's what the arts does for us. That's what it is for us. It can be our art cry, you know, our healer, you know, and just inspire us to push higher. But working in a nonprofit space, the challenge for us all in that space now is definitely fundraising. And right now, a lot of the funding is going towards social service programs that are more so for families. There's a lot of funding available for arts education, but not enough funding available for artists. So artists are really having to work harder than ever to find grants
Mm-hmm.
and scholarships. And people don't understand by the time you see an artist in a show or curating a show, you don't know how many years of work they have done to get to that place.
Right.
Somebody has to be, some institution has to be the one to pay attention to them and support their work. They deserve to be respected as equally as much as a teacher or a doctor or a lawyer or anyone else. They are working artists, but a lot of times people will sometimes say, oh, you're a photographer. Can you come shoot my event? And
Right.
I'll give you $100.
Right.
And then people wonder why, artists look at you like, are you crazy?
Are you crazy? Exactly. Exactly. And then will that be one of the things that'll be a part of, or has already been a part of your work in general, of being an advocate for the artists?
Yeah, I've learned a lot through my 4 years working at Algira, a Center for Contemporary Art. One of the things that they did there, and that Victor Dobson has always, the former executive director and founder, he's always been passionate about the idea of professional development for artists, and the training that artists need, so that they can think strategically about their own professions. So I have some programs that I'm also considering for artists to kind of help them on that path for the future. And again, just engaging in public programs to get my Newark folks and also New York folks. New York folks need to come over to Jersey a little bit more often than
Yeah,
y'all
they
do.
do, especially
Y'all
in the
have like
Newark.
Atlantic Ocean in between.
Exactly. It's too far. I have a friend who was talking about dating a guy in New Jersey. She lives in Brooklyn. And she said that it was like a long distance relationship. And I was like, it's New Jersey. And she said, if I have to put gas in my car to go visit you, that's so long. That is a long, you know what? See,
Yeah, Brooklyn,
that's
Queens,
long
Bronx,
distance.
Manhattan. I'm really gonna need y'all to do better and come over and see
Yes.
us sometime because Newark is popping right now.
Newark is popping. I'm telling you, you're so right. One of the things I saw that you wrote a quote, you said, the preservation of our cultural institutions and legacies, engaging artists and communities have been a passion of mine for a while, especially because art is a powerful tool and another language to communicate what we think, see, and feel about our experiences in the world. Now, why do you think art is so important, especially at a time like this with all that's going on with police brutality, the killings, all the things that are going on in the world? How does art fit into that as an important expression?
Oh, I'm gonna give you one word, one woman right now of the moment, Solange.
Solange, I knew you were going to say yes.
Can we just talk about Cranes in the Sky for just a second?
It's so funny because that's the only song that I've heard so far. I haven't listened to the whole album yet. I'm going to do it this weekend, but that song is very powerful.
I did listen to the whole album and even the snippets. Even Master P is
Master,
dropping some jewels on this album. And she made that for us, you know. And that song in particular, Cranes in the Sky. Now, I'm not sure what exactly she's referring to, but I love that it gives us individually, you can apply that to so many things. As a Black woman, some of the lyrics, that she's talking about, well, what is it that she was trying to push away? And for me, I immediately thought of racism. And I immediately started to think of all the ways, we have been struggling with this constant death and murder of our people and oppression that we're still dealing with. And just the space, the little bit of elbow room and breathing room that we need. And I just feel like she said, did she not say everything? I feel like she said everything.
I think she said everything.
She said everything.
She did.
And even as
Beautifully.
with so much grace. And that is what I love, 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 love about women is that you can be strong and vulnerable and still strong. And especially as an entrepreneur or a boss, sometimes you don't want to show your vulnerability. You feel like you have to be on all the time, but you forget that the world also needs your softness. It needs to hear, your cries and your pain. And I just think that she did such a beautiful job. But I also thought, well, what else could she possibly be talking about? But even just being a black woman, being black and a woman um, in the world, not just America, but in the whole world, um, there are some experiences that, especially between women, that you don't have to say everything. You could say something, and we intuitively are just like,
We
"Yup, I
get
know
it.
exactly."
I know
I
what you don't say no more.
don't see you ain't gotta say nothing else. I know the whole. You told me the whole story. You told me the
Right.
whole story. Got you, sis.
Mm-hmm.
I understand, and that's what she did. She did that, and that's what art does too. That's
That
why I love art.
that was a perfect example. That just it summed it up perfectly. That's I can't even think of a better example, especially in this moment with everything that's going on. Saying it with grace and beautifully too is another very interesting part of that, as you mentioned that Solange did, because we have both sides of it where we're angry, and she might even in that song be angry, but it's just
Yes, she was.
how do
She
you
absolutely was. I
yeah,
got that too.
yeah, just how you express it. It can look a lot of different ways, and that's what
Yes,
art does.
yeah, there are, and I think that we have to be critical in this moment. I don't think that being vulnerable and being soft means a lack of critical thinking or a lack of awareness. Um, there are so many ways to express yourself. We just have to pick the one that suits you individually. You don't have to be like anybody else to do it like anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
You just communicate what's in your heart and what you want people to see. You ask yourself, what is not being said right now?
Right. And where are
Or
the
how can
spaces
I
that I can, yeah,
yes, where are the spaces? That's big. Where are the spaces? And if there aren't any spaces, guess what? You can create a
create them?
space. Yes, you can. You can create a space. And that is also what I mean about breaking through mental blocks and what I personally had to work on. Um, we have to break through the idea that we can't create spaces. We have to break through the idea that there are limitations. Now, practically, yes, there are some limitations. Racism is a limitation. I'm aware of that limitation. But guess what? If I can't push a boulder out the way, I'm damn sure going to go around it.
That's right.
It's not going to block my path. I'm going to go around it.
Right. And
And
it's doing what it's supposed to do. It was meant to be a limitation. So like you said, it's not trying to change what that is. It's figuring out how to go through it or get around it.
yes, and not in a way that's just like in an individual way. And I
Mm-hmm.
just got to get ahead and move on up like the
No.
Jeffersons type of way.
Right.
I mean, in the Harriet Tubman, we out, we leaving, we getting up out of here, who's coming kind of way.
Right.
I saw a way to get up out of here, y'all coming
Right.
kind of
Are
way.
you coming or not? Right. Exactly. I love that. Now, what's next for you? What are you most excited about today? I know this new position, this new work that you're going to create, that you're keeping us in suspense. But what are you most excited about?
I have to say, I'm excited about the Newark Arts Open Doors Festival that is coming up in a couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm. What date is?
Um, it's it launches the 20th through the 23rd.
Okay.
It's one of my favorite times of year in Newark because they have something called a gallery crawl. They have shuttles that will take you from gallery to gallery. So if you've
Mm.
never visited all of the galleries in Newark, it's like a perfect time of year to grab a friend, just come hang out in Newark. All the every gallery has an event, a public program. They have a gallery guide. There are pop-up exhibits, and you can just like spend the day and night hopping around and enjoying all of the energy.
I love
But
that. I'm going to, now that might be worth a long distance trip, Miami. Might have to put
it
gas in the
is
car for that one. That's a
might
good,
have to do it. There's
that's,
also a studio tour. So for artists who are looking for open studio space, the Newark Arts Council also does a tour, and all of the studios are open for people to preview. But for City Without Walls, we are having an opening reception for the first exhibition I'm going to be doing at the gallery, curated by Akintola Hanif from High Side Magazine. You see how these things, they just
see, I'm telling you. And we're
come
with
back.
you because we know the story now.
There are stories upon stories upon stories, Elaine,
I'm sure.
and I can't even tell you. But he is curating a show called The Five Words, and he's also launching a website. And basically, The Five Words is a series that shows the diversity within each ward of Newark. A lot of people don't know Newark is broken up into five wards: the East Ward, South Ward, West Ward, Central Ward, and North Ward. And each ward is unique, and its people are unique, and the spaces and places are unique. So he has a group of photographers who are going to have their photography on display, and he'll be launching the online web series that he is putting together on that same day, October 21st. I've
Right.
been working with Akintola probably since like, I don't know, 2004, 2005. We've been friends and partners on so many projects for so many years. Um, I'm It's amazing, these friendships that last so long. I pay
Mm-hmm.
a lot of attention to my friendships that have stood by me for so long. We all have them, and um, we have to nurture them. And it doesn't take away from any of the friendship that we have, but you have some that are just special. And every area of your life, every place you go, you have these friends that are with you through every high and every low. And those are great. Those are I live for that.
You live for that.
Live for that. It means a lot to me.
Speaking of that, if you think over your life and career and you had the chance to thank only one person whose support was critical to you personally or professionally, who would that be and what would you say?
Oh my goodness. Oh, Elaine, I'm gonna have to say my mama. I'm gonna have to say my mama. You know, mothers are so intuitive. I'm telling you, my mother lives in South Jersey. I could not, and she comments on every daggone post. Sometimes I don't want to post stuff because I'll be like, I love my family for that. They do it to me. And I know they're so funny. Like, okay, I know she's trying to be professional right now, but I'm proud of you, so I just got to say it. But mothers are so intuitive in that my mother, over the years, sometimes maybe something has been bothering me, or something has been wrong, or maybe something wasn't wrong. My mother don't call me before she comes. She just straight up goes knock knock on the door and comes in.
Mm-hmm.
Ain't nobody but my mama. Mom, did you call me and tell me you was coming?
She's like, no,
No.
I felt that you needed me to come, though.
Yes, yes, exactly. And I've been so busy lately. Sometimes I barely have time to clean or cook. I'm like, look, we can't do all three. Okay, I could work and I could cook, but something's going to fall off to the side for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes my mother will come and she'll do my laundry for me. I won't ask her to do these things. Sometimes she'll just come from South Jersey and she'll just cook dinner. And then she'll be like, okay, see you later. Um, I just love my mother. I know that she's really proud of me in this moment. I know that she hasn't always understood what the hell I'm doing or why.
Right. That's what
But
love is.
she's not only like this for me, but she's also like that for my sister. And don't let somebody be messing with us. Don't let an employer, a man, a woman, nobody, because she will be here.
She will come for you.
You need bail money, she gonna be there.
That's a story you didn't share with us. That's so funny.
Oh,
It's okay though. That's what mom does. She might get you
that,
later, but she's going to show up.
yes, she will.
I love it. Now, final question. How can we support you? I'm going to have links to the website, of course, this event, the Newark Arts Open, what is it? Open Door Festival. I love that.
Yeah.
We'll have links to that as well. But what else can we do to support you, and tell us where to follow on social media?
I want you all to come to the gallery.
That's right. Tell us where it
Yeah,
is.
it's located 6 Crawford Street in Newark. It is not far from Newark Penn Station. It's a 5-minute cab ride from Penn Station. There are some beautiful new buildings that are coming up in that neighborhood also. Like I said, fundraising is really difficult. We have a donation link on our website,
Which is?
cwow.org. C as in cat, WOW.org. You could put in $10, $20, $100, whatever you feel. But we're also open for public programs and for space rentals. So, and our rates are really affordable. So you want to have a film screening, you have a project, you want to have a reception for something, you want to have, a cocktail reception for an event that you're celebrating. Consider the gallery, as a space to do that. You want to try and engage a new audience, a different audience in a different city. Consider our space as an alternative.
I love that. That's so true. You think of it beyond just an art gallery. It's a space. It's a creative space.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much. This has been so much fun. I hope it was fun for you. I enjoyed talking. You haven't seen, well, like we talked about before the interview, we've seen each other, but haven't had a chance to talk and catch up. Now I feel like I know some of your story.
Very good. Thank you. I'm so glad that you asked me.
Yeah.
Honored that you asked me. I love what you're doing. I think it's so important. And, we were talking about thinking global, but acting local. But I feel like you are acting local because you identified the audience that needs you.
Yeah. Oh.
And that needs support. So I want to see all of this grow for you as well. And I know that it will because, people don't always say anything, but everybody's watching.
I take that. I will take
You,
that.
you should. I know that people are watching you, and all they can do is nod and say yes, because who could disagree that support is sexy?
Right.
Who could disagree with that?
Who can disagree with that? I'm going to put that on my wall too. I have about 10 quotes from you that I'm going to put on my wall. Who could disagree with that? I love it. Thank you so much for saying that. It means a lot. I mean, you know how it is when you're going through, especially trying to create something new, this idea that you have. And there are days where you feel like, not that you necessarily want someone to watch, but you feel like, is this making a difference? Does this even make sense to anyone else other than me? So I take that and accept that. I so appreciate that.
Yep. All you have to do is love it. As long as you love it and it's making you happy, it will do nothing but grow.
It will do nothing but grow. That I was going to ask you for a parting piece of advice. Do you feel like that would be it for everyone, including myself?
Yes. You have to love it. Don't count the hours of how long it takes. Don't worry about when it's going to get there. Does it make you happy? Is what you're doing making you happy? Do you feel fulfilled? Do you feel like you helped one person? You don't have to help 1,000 people, but did you give one person your undivided attention? Or did one person give you their undivided attention? And it's all about loving it. But one of my teachers also told me that there's a feeling that you have to have when you're doing these affirmations, when you're speaking things into existence. He says that the three most important feelings are gratitude, being thankful for what you have, loving what you have and what you do, and also being excited about what you do. And when you combine those three feelings in your work, it's magic.
It's magic. Fayemi, Shakur, thank you so much. This was perfection. I so appreciate you and the work that you're doing and the fact that you encourage us all to take care of ourselves.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Hold on just a second. All right. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you got something out of this episode. And the challenge is to take at least one thing from the episode. You can always do more than one thing, but at least one thing from the episode. Take action, move forward today. You can also check out previous episodes that I've done with past inspiring women entrepreneurs and creatives. Go to supportissexypodcast.com. Again, supportissexypodcast.com. Check out previous episodes, leave comments, get in touch with me. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you want to hear in the future. I am here to support you. While you're there, be sure to click the free resources button and check out some things that I'm offering completely free. That's why they're free resources, including an audio training on making brave decisions. You can also support me by leaving a review on iTunes or Stitcher, wherever you're listening to this. Let me know what you think about the podcast. Leave a rating. Hopefully it's a 5-star rating, but that would really help me and I would love to hear from you. So now, you know what to do. Go out there and create something sexy, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.